Hello, it's KRBrickBot, and I have a little something shipped over in a small box. These are Dino Powers, an all-new original franchise from Korea, but it launched in China first as part of a pre-existing franchise, 心奇爆龙战车, as part of a reboot season, 龙装战甲, and that was released in March of 2022, well before this half Korean property launched in June of 2022 and toys in August. But this is Korean because Dofala, the animation studio, is Korean, and then they localized the Korean animation as an all-new indie series in Korea, capping off the timeline of the Chinese Kids Dino franchise and its crazy-ass sporadic history in relation with Korea in the entire 2 years of its existence. Here's a chart. So as the 4 main robot toys were localized in Korean packaging, I decided to get some of the things that are still exclusive to China and not really going to be sold in the Korean market. Slightly smaller versions of those main bots. So I'll be looking at each one of them, starting off with the red one. Thanks to the Korean marketing, these specific robots are called Metabots. And this first one is a space shuttle. And his Chinese name is Red Flame, but the Korean name is Firo. Yeah, that's a much more unique name than Red Flame. Yeah, it's a white and red space shuttle. Maybe a bit more aerodynamically sloped than ideal space shuttles, like a futuristic space shuttle. The nose cone looks really sloped downward for a space shuttle, kind of giving more fictitious sci-fi style look than a real space shuttle, but it has the shape of the shuttle, including these wings with the curved wingtips and the fin. And I guess these are the thrusters behind these vent thrusters. And as the Lite version or STD version, it's slightly budgeted out of the paint apps. The main difference between the bigger toy is it has no black striping all around. Like from the fuselage all the way to the wingtips. It had a black striping all throughout, but it's pretty plain here. Also, the inside of this tail fin was red. It does say Iki on the tail fin. Yeah, that's the Chinese toy company that made Dino Trainers. I wonder if their mark is also going to be on the Korean toys. But even without those, if you didn't know any better, this is not so bad. If you look at this. Yeah, though, a little black here would really, give it a little more accent flair than just black all concentrated on the back here and the front window. Transformation. This should be pretty simple. Like there's a big panel, whole panel here, then the arms out, wings all the way up, arms out and down, and the panel up all around. There really is no tab to grab the foot easily, but you can do it. Okay, I don't think there are any other joints here, so yeah, this is the main Firo robot mode. So you have this red robot mode with the heroic build. Yeah, the big legs, big broad shoulders. Really love those, how the shape of the wings kind of make it a curved inward shoulder, so that behind the shoulder just really gives it a axe style, just a more dynamic look in the kibble. Maybe not so for this kibble. Yeah, this one panel that covers the leg gaps, it just folds up right here. It doesn't really fold up any further. Also looked up the bigger one. It doesn't do much with this either, so yeah, that's just one bit of egregious kibble. But otherwise, it looks pretty good. A good layout of the colors it has, including transparent yellow parts in the shins and the chest. This kind of looks like it would be an engine thruster, but it's not. Yeah, these are. That just looks like a nice energy core on the smaller version, but it serves another connecting purpose in the larger version. The main paint apps that are missing are obviously the lining on the shuttle bits would also carry over to the robot mode, which is lacking, so his arms are looking quite red. As with some other like red and black details that were just made one color, or some little accent colors. But again, if you don't know any better, this looks pretty good on its own. Doesn't look too cheap. The head is pretty distinctive enough, like one of those styles that looks like where the robot face is really sunken in. Also, it doesn't have a mouth. It's just like it's a really squash face. So this kind of implies this is like his jawline. This is jaw, like a jaw type. And in that way, I guess it kind of subtly implies like a dino style robot when none of the robot kind of looks like it has any dino aesthetics. The head subtly does. Yeah, this kind of looks like a jaw. Yeah, but it's just like a more generic dino and not so much of a T-Rex. Yeah, but still, it's a pretty cool head sculpt. Articulation. Head goes slightly left and right. That's a pretty big jawline. Shoulders go all the way out almost. Yeah, but like one of these types of shoulders. Mushroom peg, full swivel around, even with this kibble. Slight elbow bend. Transformational bicep swivel. That are on these milky POM plastic right away. Extra strength. And these have a slight bit of wiggle. These really look like they could be turned into wrist swivels if some sort of blocking plastic in there was snipped off. No waist swivel, even though it looks like it is perfectly round and free enough to do so. Missed opportunity. Legs go forward that much. Lots of stuff in the way. Thick thighs. Back that much on those pretty soft ratchets. Doesn't go out that much because of this kibble. Nice ratcheted spreads this much. And one click of a knee. Yeah, there's this much kibble in the way that somehow has to be here to keep the shape of the shuttle, but really this could have been folded away or relocated somewhere else. That would have been better to make some more room for the articulation. No thigh swivel, but I imagine the bigger one might be able to afford a thigh swivel. And transformational forward like this, I guess, and the toe down. Typical articulation that's usually just to transform it, and some limited articulation due to budget and design, but at least bicep swivels. This yellow SUV automobile is Lite. Okay, but its Korean name is Volta. That's more recognizable. Kind of a thundery power, I guess. The fairly simplistic, fictitious but realistic SUV type. Couple of hard angles around here. Like nice silver here and that tiny little hexagonal grille. Little bumpers and yeah, multi-segmented windows. Little vents at the back. Kinda not this, but it's serviceable as a toy car. Engine energy core on the top here. Yeah, but the back really doesn't look like much. Doesn't really look like the back of a car, just more like transformational bits. So what's missing from this little version compared to the big version is black trimming all around and silver all on top. I guess to just make it look like a reinforced armored top car. But it's all yellow here, so yeah, that kind of makes a difference. Yeah, this just kind of looks like a regular civilian car thing and not some sort of armored car, reinforced battle car thing. Transformation. Weapon storage off. It's secured pretty tightly. That looks like a whole lot of leg. It's all leg. Indeed, you're gonna fold these car fronts on the double hinges here, just fold the back here. If you can get the foot, fold them down. Panel side down, and then this entire upper half forms the robot torso. Yeah, like two distinct halves. Pretty swinging ratchets. Arms down, turns around, arms out, like arms down and out. And then a sliding head, just kind of pinch it in there and just, there's the head. So here's Volta in his robot mode, and compared to Firo, who looks more angular, like has some curves and angles, somehow Volta feels more blocky. I mean, just more straight angles and such. Like, just more straight angles. It mostly comes out to the chest. I mean, that is a super square chest. Very rectangular. No sort of interesting curves instead of like a simple trapezoid here. That's a relatively simple torso design. while the rest of it might be decent. Like broad shoulders, kibble baggy legs, but otherwise some subtle color changes mostly come down to lack of silver and accents, and including black accents, and I think one particular set of black plastic colors replaced with yellow. Though in this case, the plastic change I think looks a little better on the smaller version than the bigger toy. I mean, like the forearms that are just black are yellow, which kind of makes it more cohesive than the black arms, which kind of make the hands lost in with the rest of the car hood with a robot arm in it. And I think the thighs just had, like, you know, yellow shin guards going all the way up here, but somehow I think just completely white upper thighs and the yellow rest of it looks better, because this guy is already yellow. It's very yellow. The head is very distinctly dino styled with a triceratops style horn, forehead crest, and two little horns. Though they could be painted, but they're not. And there's a bit of a gap between the face and the horns, so I don't think he's supposed to have a nose. For a car robot, it is a pretty kibble-free design. Yeah, like the top is completely flat. Copyright Iki. The kibble all goes out to the legs. Yeah, just these big panels, that double hinge panels they don't quite mesh well. And the front of the car, that are the back heels. Also, it seems that just Korean or Asian style robots are just so averse to using the car as feet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they just do the back of that and not the front. I mean, I haven't seen that many robots that use the car as feet. Volta does have a weapon accessory, and it's this gun axe. It's a double-sided axe with a extra asymmetrical protruding end, or some sort of blaster with a little bump stock there, I guess. So that goes onto this little hole that functions as a connecting hole. So that's double function. So it looks like an arm-mounted gun thing. So although you can still see the axe on there, it just kind of looks like an axe mounted on the side, and just imagining the end of the handle as a big old gun. Yeah, so you can put that in the hand, though it is a bit of a tight fit. Slightly less tight on this hand. Yeah, so looks better as an axe and a gun. Articulation goes full head swivel, bit of a wiggle from the sliding joint, soft ratcheted full 360 shoulders and the transformational shoulders, pretty tight outward for the transformation, and a full bicep swivel, and an elbow joint mounted at the top so that goes all the way up. Oh, and the transformational back arc, that is a pretty strong ratchet. Legs on a soft click. A little forward, that much. And almost all the way back, that much. Nice soft ratchety spreads. Pretty tight and pretty clicky 90-degree knee. And the toe in. Yeah, so minus the thigh swivels that would be on the bigger toy, nope. This is pretty articulate. Next, this green excavator's name is Kai, but the Dino Powers name is Muke. I know that looks like Muke, but the Korean name says Muke, so I guess I'll call it Muke. I mean, it's recognizable as an excavator with its iconic shovel-digging arm, but a very stylized one. Yeah, for one, yeah, look at that caterpillar track section. That is very tall. That takes up like nearly the half of the height of the thing. Yeah, you know, they're typically very flat, but this is just like raised like a rounded trapezoid. Very stylistic. As such, you also get all sorts of techno lining in here. Some nice green paint on there with a little bit of panel lining greebles. Slightly cut off with tabs, but yeah, that's a very stylish, that's a cool looking caterpillar track section of a excavator vehicle. Little fake wheels and also little fake roller caster wheels. There's no wheels in here. I imagine the bigger toy would have them. But not this one, just it raises it up to prevent some friction. That is a double cockpit excavator. For the perfect symmetry, I guess, but practically, why would you need two workers to pilot this one excavator. Yeah, I mean, I guess it just was just slightly remolded, but kept the same height. Might look a little weird, so I guess that's why I decided to go with a symmetrical excavator, even though that really doesn't make sense in real life. The front isn't that substantial. It just kind of looks like a slope. It kind of looks like two thin panels, just obviously partially covering up some other mode bits. And it's not quite good for shoveling or sloping off. Yeah, but the back is rounded like an excavator at least. Yeah, this little box thing and this curved back and some lights. I believe these are just equipment warning lights. A little bit of venting on the side. Might be some paint chipping there, but yeah, it's an excavator. Excavator with arms at 2 clicks and a good shovel range all the way in. Yeah, it looks like an excavator, so that's enough, even though it's a slightly very stylized excavator. It looks and acts like an excavator. That's all that's enough for the little kiddos. To be fair, there's not much of a noticeable difference from the lack of paint apps on the smaller one and the bigger one. It's just mostly missing a couple of subtle black details. A little bit of striping, white striping up here, and a half green bucket arm, scooper. And the sculpting, I noticed, has been flattened on the sides here, while those were raised. But it's not much of a big difference if you don't know any better again. Transformation. Panels down, legs down, and the panels can go all the way 180 around to the back of the legs. Feet down. Split the top 180. Fold back the cover. Click it in. Pull out the arm. And then for the weapon storage, there's this little hole here that goes in either one of these shoulders here. That's for the default mode, and then yeah, just fold this back and Muke. For an excavator bot, he's a very heroic build and very lean, especially in the legs, like those really curved and angled musculature legs that don't form too much of the robot mode, and while other prominent vehicular parts form the silhouette of the vehicle mode. Yep, fembots are not the only one that cheaps out with kibble. They're pretty tall shoulders, but not super imposing. And the forearms are very symmetrical forearms, formed from the super symmetrical window cabins. That's why they're symmetrical. Yeah, and a pretty lean torso, like with the signature energy core thing, and nice curvature at the bottom, waist, and a bit of blockiness at the top. Nice robot styles. I mean, the head does look like a robust type. I mean, the most significant feature is this giant, stubby, white forehead crest that could resemble a dino horn. But it's hard to see any brachio-style motifs in this. At least very subtly. Yeah, but he does have a big old jaw, like a big old mouth jaw and the little side vents. And because of that separate plastic white piece, it does look like his face is not completely flush. It's kind of splitting. But otherwise, pretty good, smooth head sculpt. The back is pretty clean, all things considered. Just a little bit of the leg cable and the back head cover, which could function as a little backpack box. If you attach that shovel arm to the shoulder, it does give it an interesting asymmetrical look to an otherwise completely symmetrical design. And this thing just will not stay on. It's just a bit too loose. Yeah, so this thing is a weapon. There's a little peg here, so you could plug it in the hand, which is not that tighter. Which is not that much tighter, but I guess you can rest it against the arm to kind of secure it. Yeah, you just have to do that for the, I guess, a little scooper weapon or the... Yeah, but the main function is the chainsaw. Yep, so he has a big chainsaw weapon thing. Chainsaw excavator. But honestly, the pegs for the excavator arms in the vehicle mode are the strongest than this intentional weapon peg, so you could just leave it as a forearm weapon. Comparing to the bigger toys deco, of course it's missing the black accents in the torso and the head and a little bit of blue energy flare. And also there was a bit more painted in the legs. You can see the sculpted detail there, but they're not painted green. And the pretty plain thighs here are multicolored, like white top, green bottom, but even that is not accurate to the show accurate colors of green and black. Yeah, but again, it's just looking at this by itself without knowing about the animation model, I mean, this looks fine. Articulation. Head goes all the way around. Nice swivels there. Soft ratcheted full 360 arms, okay, more like 180. I mean, it's technically 180, but not all the way, which is more natural movement anyways. A nice upper shoulder hinge on a POM plastic hinge, so that's good range for that much shoulder kibble. Even this way, elbow goes more than 90 for the transformation. But no bicep swivels. So Muke is the only Metabot without any bicep swivels. Ironic. Also, they're double hollow. Legs split out all the way. The legs go forward and back on distressingly loose ratchets. I don't think they even have ratchets. I think they're just kind of frictioning on top of the pelvis here. So that holds it in place. But otherwise, I think somehow the ratchets are not working or they forgot to install the ratchets. But these are super floppy legs. Gonna have to do a fix. Nice obtuse ratchet bend, but take that kibble out of the way and you go all the way for transformation. And the toe down for transformation. Again, some pretty plain hips that look like that would be a place for the thigh swivels for the bigger.
Nope.
The blue heavy tank, and its Chinese name is literally magnetic front. The Dino Powers name is Loka. It is unmistakably a tank. A double paired treaded tank with those fake roller wheels. I mean, the top looks like a good tank turret with a railgun style energy charged tank barrel, I guess. It kind of hinges awkwardly, like downward that much, but all the way up, not that much. And of course, this tank doesn't turn, so just a treading tank. Has some vents and some subtle spikes. I mean, the side, yeah, I mean, this kind of looks like a little bit of a short tank, a short compact tank. It has some green paint on the sides here, although they're kind of cut off with the tabs and such. Yeah, especially this. And the front is kind of bare, it's just obviously folded legs. Yeah, the back is more solid, at least. Yeah, it's a tank. It's a very simple tank. But compared to the bigger toys, the lacking paint apps are mostly all in the turret, just missing a couple of black and some white highlights. I guess to break up that otherwise very blue tank turret. Transformation. Nice clicky hinges. Arm split. And that clicks into right here. Panel back. It's optional if you want to turn that head before transforming or not. And then mount the cannon onto the forearm. A build that looks very similar to Loka. I mean, all the way down to the transforming top section and the really long legs, the musculature legs with the tank tread kibble on the side. Yeah, they transform in almost the same way. I keep saying they look like they have heroic builds, but especially so with these very toned legs, like those curved calves and those blocky bottoms that kind of look like musculature, mechanical musculature, with kibble on the side, because these legs don't form much of the visible vehicle, but the vehicle kibble does. So nice short stack, tall stack shoulders that slope inward. somewhat short arms, but it has the signature tank cannon on arm style. Doesn't really work in the hands. I mean, the hands hold it in the tank mode, but you can only hold it like this as a gun because the rest of the stuff is just, there's too much stuff around it to be held like this. Kind of loose here. So yeah, arm mounted looks cooler anyway. The head does have more of that Ankylosaurus inspired motif thanks to those horns on the side. And I guess the little side extrusions of his head, yeah, also looks like a helmeted look. And of course that chin mouth, the chin guard mouth thing, the crest. I'm sure the bigger toy has a little more black to break it up, but neither of them are the show accurate blue with an all blue face. I mean, the white looks much better, but yeah, somehow the show is just all blue. Alright, compared to the bigger toy, it's missing a couple of black accents and some yellowish orange accents rather than the straight yellow of this only the chest area. The upper thighs were blue at the top and white at the bottom. And the most significant thing is these treads were simplified actually. It's not just a straight copy of the transformation. Because these treads flipped around so that these bits would appear on the front, the more attractive bit. I guess the top of the hinge here would just flip around and then this would flip in so that the hinge was inward and not outward like this, but this is just a simple one hinge thing, so that's a significant difference. So I guess they decided to just mold the underside of the tank wheels here to kind of give this hollow bit some not so monotony, but those are hollow treads. Articulation. Head is at a full swivel. Full shoulders around. Shoulders out that much and inward that much. Slightly less than 90-degree elbow. Full bicep swivel. But for some reason they're all made of that milky POM plastic, so when it rubs itself it's really creaky. Oh, that sends shivers down my spine. Oh, that's so squeaky. Thigh goes all the way forward. Almost. And all the way back. Soft ratchet thighs and nice clicky outer thighs and full all the way here for transformation and the toe down. And a stressing splitting toe in. Not recommended. Yep, just about the exact same articulation as the others. Including the implied but no thigh swivels that would be on the
Nope.
So that was a look at one subline toy line season's worth of small affordable versions of toys that is like a regular trend for Chinese toy lines. Aesthetically, I think I like Firo the best, you know, just the main lead and also a pretty uncommon shuttle mode. Also a pretty dynamic way for the wings to fold up. I think Loka is a close second, you know, just a straightforward tank robot with a pretty buff build. But functionally, I think I like Volta the best, just like it has the most posability, I mean the most range of articulation, and a two-purpose weapon. While I think Muke just is the worst in functionality because frictionless hips and a very loose accessory. He looks good, but this particular version is just not good. I hope the bigger toy functions better. Speaking of which begs the question, why would you specifically get these smaller simplified ones over the full featured ones? Well, it obviously comes down to price and scale. I assume the Metabots are like relatively small, like average small robot size, like just about maybe the 3 to 4 times higher than a kid. They do look pretty sizable enough to be Voyager scale Transformer bots. Not so short as the deluxe bots. And their alt modes aren't cars that are bigger than cars, so they do scale pretty well with deluxe cars. Except this car. So I bought these off of AliExpress, though I did have to do a lot of side searching and browsing because the entry's name I bought this from is Transformation New Desing and Engineering Vehicle Bruticus Devastator Brawl Combiner Figure. That's not a very accurate description, nothing about dinosaurs. So that entry has both the small versions and the full-size versions, which I assume are identical to the Korean package versions. So you could just go to G-Market and find those Dino Powers in Korea if you just want the assurance of getting something from Korea is a high quality toy with its Korean box. Then again, I don't know how appealing these are going to be because they are pretty common alternate modes and there is not much dino in them. The main dinos are separate roleplay transforming toys. And when alt modes make up half of exotic transformer toys that you would only buy going off of the toy, I mean, they're just a different style of the common things, but if you're really into that style, then yeah, you could go for it. But otherwise, this is kind of just very niche, like a very niche audience like of me, like learning about Korean franchises that are made or come from neighboring Asian Transformer franchises. That's a very niche interest that drove me to buy these. I think that's the rest of the coverage I'm gonna do for the Dino Powers. I'm not sure if I have any incentive to get the bigger Korean ones, or the roleplay toys, or the rest of the Chinese geeky Dino Trainer series for that matter. They're cubes now?